Yeah.
Constituents of gastric juice, right? So it consists of intrinsic factor. And guys, intrinsic factor is produced by what? By what? Talk to me. Your?
Parietal cells.
Very good. Infinity points, right? Now, it also consists of hydrogen ions. Now, hydrogen ions is just a fancy way of saying hydrochloric acid, right? Because remember, you're going to have your hydrogen and your chloride ions combining to give you that, right? Also, you have your pepsin, right? Which is formed from your pepsinogen, either by the cleavage of pepsin or by the pepsinogen being exposed to acidic conditions. And you're going to have your mucus. And guess what? They're going to say, where is your mucus produced? And obviously it's going to be produced by your mucous neck cells, right? And your mucous glands. And water, right? Water is essential for that. All right. All right, so guys, listen. You see, images tell you 1,000 words and a picture is worth 1,000 words. And that is very evident from what we said before, because look at this, right? Intrinsic factor. This is significant in B12 absorption in the terminal ileum. Right? I don't think I have retrograde amnesia because we said this already. The protein which holds intrinsic factor and the production of intrinsic factor is dependent on the parietal cells. All right? Good. Now, intrinsic factor is essentially a mucoprotein, right? And failure of its production is associated with achlorhydria, right? And the absence of parietal cells. Essentially, what that is saying is that once your parietal cells, right, are absent, you're going to have lack of secretion of chloride ions and intrinsic factor deficiency or vitamin B12 deficiency, right? Good. Now, you have something called pernicious anemia, right? Pernicious anemia is essentially an autoimmune disorder that is associated with damage to the parietal cells. And as a result of that, you're going to possibly have achlorhydria or vitamin B12 deficiency / intrinsic factor deficiency. All right. So that's why persons that have this condition, they may have to get lifelong B12 injections. All right. Good. Now, in addition to that, too, taking too much antacid, and you guys need to bear that in mind and tell your relatives this taking too much antacid actually cause that, right? Because stomach acid is not a bad thing. Right? That's a misconception that some people have, right? It's actually a good thing. And here's why. So the hydrogen ions, they contribute to acidity through facilitating the diffusion with chloride ions to give HCl, right? And let's talk about it. Now remember, you're going to go to, okay, this is an unfortunate example, but you have certain fast food outlets, right? Where literally the persons, they don't wear gloves, or they didn't wear gloves, I guess, before Corona, right? And Lord knows what they have done with their hands, right? But either way, we want our burger, right? Not going to specify what kind, for obvious reasons. And, we need to ensure that, guess what? The burger is sterilized whilst in our gastrointestinal system. And essentially, the hydrochloric acid serves that function, right? So it's going to kill bacteria, right, from the food that we've already ingested. And in addition to that, kill any other surrounding forms of microorganisms in the stomach, right, to protect it, okay? Because you're going to possibly develop enteric infections, right, or gastrointestinal infections if that process is not facilitated, all right? I remember enteric, it means basically a gastrointestinal system, all right? So enterocytes, the cells that are in your gastrointestinal system, or your small intestines rather, all right? Good. Now, in terms of the secretion of acid, so the process, remember, right, it basically has a rate limiting step, right? And this is this actually involves carbonic anhydrase, all right? And let me show you why, right? So remember, you're going to have your H2O, your water, all right? Water is everywhere in our body, cool? And your ions are going to be dissolved, right? Obviously, and they're going to be segregated, right? So you're going to have a mixture of H plus, and you're going to have hydroxide ions, right? Now, the hydroxide ions are going to combine with carbon dioxide to give you bicarbonate, right? Now, I want somebody to tell me, why is this process so significant, right? Why do I say that this? Because also too, the reason why I said it's a rate limiting step is because look at this, right? Now, the hydroxide ions, once they're used up, right, that decreases the availability, right, in this equation, all right? So that's why this step is very essential to everything that's going on. But there's another reason why this step is important, right? And I want somebody to tell me why. Let's talk about it very briefly. It's not something to marvel over really. Anybody? Why is it that bicarbonate production is so significant in the stomach? And there's a very big clue in front of you guys. Right? Look at my cursor. My cursor. I'm matter of fact, I think I have a mark on this thing. Let's see. Anybody? Tell me, why is bicarbonate production so significant? Ooh, okay, I have a pen. All right. Forgive me, guys. All right. Very good. Okay. Not the best circle, but yes. Let's see, somebody said it in the chat. Neutralization. Okay, good, Graham. So you're thinking along the correct lines, right? So remember, now, as there is an acidic environment being created within the stomach, right? Cool. Now, in terms of this acidic environment, what you want is you also want to protect the lining of your stomach, right? Because essentially, it's not only the acid that can potentially break down the proteinaceous nature of the stomach, but it's actually the mucosa, the fact that the mucosa, right, is left vulnerable, that can leave it susceptible to pepsin. Because remember, pepsin can break down any protein it down business, right? But the fact that you have a basic environment that is created by the bicarbonate, right, that actually lets the acid simmer down, right? And your pepsin say, whoa, we're not going for the stomach because there's a layer of bicarbonate here. Let's go for the unlayered material, which is going to be the food that you ingest, all right? So yeah, essentially that's it, all right? Let me just erase this and let's proceed. Is everybody following so far? All right, cool. So now this is where things get a little hot, right? And my suggestion is, you see, when it comes to this whole ion business, right?
No, sorry. Can you just go over that little piece, please?
Oh, sure. Go over what? The bicarb business?
The slide before.
Oh, the
Yeah.
slide before this?
No, this one. No,
Oh,
no.
this?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. All right, where did I lose you? Talk to me.
Why is this important? Is it just for the neutralization of stuff or?
All right, so essentially, the bicarb, it creates an alkalinic layer, right? Which inhibits the pepsin from actually causing autodigestion of the stomach wall, okay? So I guess, yes, there is some neutralization that occurs, but more than anything else too, it forms a layer, right? And this layer is actually affirmed by mucoproteins, which are secreted by your mucous glands. All right, you follow?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Brent, that's Brenda. All right, cool, Brenda, cool. Yeah, man. All right. All right, good. Now, very essential as I said, as I was saying, when it comes to these images, right? Oh, somebody has another question. Sorry. Chloride ions exchange. What is that question as it relates to, Brenda? Chloride
With
ions.
the with the carbonate, isn't there like a chloride shift instead the HCO3, the chloride goes in and anyways, never mind, never mind.
What happened? No man, talk to me, man. No man. Yes, there's a chloride shift here, correct? All right. Look at this image, Brenda. Right? Now look at this, right? You have the chloride shift that goes into the parietal cell. But what you need to bear in mind, is that all right. So look at this image. This image, it contains, you see this red part right here, right? You see this blue part. Blue part represents the luminal surface, right? Cool. Now, this part it represents the blood, right? Now, this is your parietal cell, all right? Now, remember, Brenda, the ion exchanges that occur, they're different depending on which cell you're looking at, all right? So, if this now, let's say, was a mucous neck cell, right? The mucous neck cell, it would be secreting bicarb to the luminal surface of the stomach, right? Which is the part represented by blue. Good. And that is going to help to form the layer, right? The cool layer, right? Let's call it that. Cool layer. The layer that's going to cool things down, right? However, this is a parietal cell, right? What do you realize that it's doing? It's all right. So yes, Brenda, as you so eloquently said, it goes. You have a chloride shift. It goes into the parietal cell, right? And then it goes to the luminal surface along with an hydrogen ion, all right? That's where how you get your H cell. But remember, this is a parietal cell, not a mucous neck cell. The mucous neck cell now, it would actually just be, you're going to have mainly the secretion of your bicarb, right? And yeah, essentially your mucoproteins as well, all right? But nobody really talks about that, which is one of the reasons why I think there can be some confusion as it relates to that. So you follow, Brenda? You cool? Irie?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, man. Cool. Right. Let's roll, guys. So yeah, man. So I mean, Brenda is ahead of the game, because essentially she just, covered everything that I was going to cover a while ago. Right? So the H plus is pumped actively into the lumen, right? As you guys see here and there, right? And bicarb diffuses into the blood, thus giving gastric venous blood a higher pH than that of arterial blood when the stomach is secreting, all right? And guys, remember, this is the parietal cell, different from your mucus secreting cells, all right? Remember, parietal cell is a hot boy in the stomach. He's going to be secreting acid and intrinsic factor and hype, cool. Now, there's active transport of hydrogen ions across the mucosal membrane, right? Which is catalyzed by H plus which is catalyzed by the hydrogen potassium ATPase pump, all right? And that is indicated by the red pentagon, right? This thing right here. Cool? All right, good. Now, this is very significant. Why? Because remember, ion shifts facilitate the entry of more ions, right? So these guys, they also facilitate the formation of your end product, right? So these guys are pushing out your hydrogen, right? And then now, as a result of pushing out your hydrogen, right, they're going to actually want to incorporate more potassium as well, right? Now, because remember, you're trying to balance what's going on, right? Trying doesn't mean it will be successful. This is one way of remembering things, right? Now, potassium comes in, right? And then it builds up a positive vibe, right? We're using colloquial language to just help us to figure this thing out, right? So it builds up a positive vibe when the potassium comes in, right? So potassium is a good vibes boss, right? Now, remember, you're going to also have your chloride ions. So because there's going to be an increase in positivity within the parietal cell, you're going to have the chloride ions saying, all right, yo, I'm feeling very negative. I need somebody with positive vibes. So let me go right in, right? So he goes right in, but then he actually goes right through because there's even more positive vibes on the outside, which is why you're going to have your hydrogen and your chloride being formed, right? Luminal surface of your gastric pit. All right, good. So H plus is pumped into the lumen in exchange for potassium, right? Within the cell, potassium is accumulated by the sodium potassium ATPase in the basolateral membrane.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.